Yo, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Street Coder Nate, and today another fun one about the DOM, y'all. It's about the DOM. But the best part about the DOM, my favorite part about the DOM, honestly, my favorite part about JavaScript, and what is that? Signals and actions. My favorite part is event handling. Today we're talking about event handling in JavaScript. So what's first? First, what the hell are events? You heard me say signals and actions. Well, events, well, each element in JavaScript in HTML has all these attributes that have things that start with this word on. So you have attribute on click, on hover, on so much more. And and all HTML elements have access to those event handlers, right? And that's what they're or those not those signals. And that's basically what it is. So you have a signal that goes off. It says click, I was clicked. You have a signal that goes off that says I was hovered. You have a signal for each element that goes off. Now these signals are called events in JavaScript. Basically, I was clicked on. That's a click event. It's a signal. A signal goes off, right? A click signal goes off. But in the terms of JavaScript, that is a click event, a hover over event. And so the thing about JavaScript and HTML is that first, the HTML elements are the DOM is listening. The DOM, remember, loads up all the HTML, creates this object model tree, and then listens to all of the objects. Listens as if it's the parent, and the parent and the nodes and the children are just giving off different signals. Think about your body, right? Let's say you are the DOM, right? You are the document, and your body and the different internal parts are your elements, right? Your H1 element, your P element. And let's say you got your stomach element. And as you're going through the day, your stomach growls. It just sent a signal to you, right? It just sent a signal to your brain. It sent a signal to the overall system. And now the overall system can handle that signal by going to fix some food, going to, son, it's going to do something. Or changing the mindset. A thought is only a thought, so you can change it, wavelength and whatnot. So these are signals, and then the action of me going to fix myself some food is myself or is how I handle that signal, right? And so in just regular programming, they're called signals and actions, but in JavaScript they're called events and event handling, because you're gonna have an event and you're gonna handle that event. So let's go into HTML DOM events and see like really what it is. Okay, here we go. So HTML DOM allows JavaScript to react to HTML events, react to HTML signals, basically. So the DOM allows JavaScript. So JavaScript, if you will, is the brains. It's gonna be the one to say what to do when the signal happens. Our brain, when our stomach growls, it is our brain that tells our body to get in action to go get some damn food. So that's the same thing that's happening over here with JavaScript. The elements are giving off signals, and the JavaScript is creating the actions and the procedures for the browser to handle that signal, that event. And so this one says mouse over me. Bet. Thank you. Mouse over me. What in the world? So when I moused over, bang, thank you just happened. Dynamically, you saw this. This is static, meaning that this shit don't change, right? If you hover over click me, it's still static. It didn't change. But as soon as I hover over mouse over me, it turns to thank you. This is static, or this is dynamic. This is JavaScript. This is the working of JavaScript right here. And so this one says click me. Bang, click me again. That's dope. This is real dope, y'all. Okay, so this is events right here. So we can set up an element that, and let's just say this is a p tag with a background, right? This p tag probably has an on click element that says when I'm clicked on, say goodbye. And then when I'm clicked on again, disappear. And this one says when I'm hovered over, say thank you, turn the text to thank you, and then when it's not hovered over, turn the text back to mouse over me. You feel me? That's dope. Let me reload this page though. Okay, cool. And then the click event. So react to events. Let's see how we can use our JavaScript to set up to listen to events first, because like I told you, there's a bunch of events going on. So we gotta figure out how we can first listen to how do we listen to certain events, and then once we start listening for those events, how do we react to those events when those events are given off, right? So a JavaScript can be executed when an event occurs. So I'm not going to read the word a. So JavaScript can be executed when an event occurs, like when a user clicks on an HTML element. To execute code when a user clicks on an element, add JavaScript code to an HTML element attribute. So basically, here's the example. OnClick equals JavaScript. This is saying that there's an attribute on the HTML tag called OnClick, and we can set that equal to JavaScript. Not the word JavaScript, but the actual JavaScript code. So let's see some examples of HTML events, right? So some of the examples that we have when a user clicks the mouse, when a web page has loaded, when an image has been loaded, when the mouse moves over an element, when an input field is changed, when an HTML form is submitted, when a user strokes a key. That means type. So there's events for almost everything, as you can see, and that's just not it. This is not an exhaustive list. This is not an exhaustive list at all. There's a lot of them. In this example, the content of H1 element is changed when a user is clicked. So let's take a look at this example. So we have the body, and remember, HTML, we really only care about the body here. Actually, there's no head, so honestly, we don't really care about the body. The things that show up is the body. It show up on the web page is the body and the head, metadata. Okay, so we have this H1 tag, like I was telling you, H1 tag, and it has this attribute. Get used to me saying attributes and properties. It has this attribute called onClick. Just like we could have an attribute called class, just like we have an attribute called ID, we have an attribute here called onClick. And what this does is is equal to a string, and this string is JavaScript. Remember, onClick equals JavaScript. So we come back here, onClick. This I guess it's not a string, but it is technically a string because it's in between quotes. But what's inside these quotes runs JavaScript. So you see this phrase right here. This is the code that's ran. This, let me explain this. Move myself around. So we got this keyword. What is this? What is it? So this refers to this element. So it's so weird, but that's what the JavaScript is saying. It's saying this current element that I'm on, which is the H1 element, dot inner HTML. So this current element dot inner HTML, change it to oops, equals oops when it's clicked on. So let's run this example. And so if I click on this, it turns to oops. That's what happened. That's what it said it was gonna do. I could change it from oops to what up, though, and rerun it. Click on this. What up, though? All right, cool. We back. Scrolling back. Okay. Move myself out the middle. All right. Not move the screen. So, okay, cool. So that was, honestly, this is event handling right here, but this is like an old school inline way to do it. Remember, inline CSS, we could also do inline event handling like that. But instead, how about this is still inline, but this time we create our JavaScript function right here, and then we just set it equal. We set our onClick equal to the JavaScript function, and we pass in the this keyword so that this is equal to the ID right there. Let me explain that, because I know that could probably be a little confusing. So we have this onClick right here, and there's this function call, called change text, and we pass in this keyword. Remember, this refers to the H1, right? Cool. So we got the this, and then right there we have. So wait, my bad. Shit. So we got the this keyword, but then we also have this right here, which is the function. Now, the function is important because this is the title of the function, which is change text. OnClick equals change text. This is referring to change text that's defined right here in this script. And so this ID is the this that's passed in. Remember, we're defining change text, and we don't know what is being passed, what's going to be passed in, so we just call it ID, and we say ID.innerHTML equals oops. What's the ID that's passed in? Is this. The identification is the H1 tag, so we're putting in this. Therefore, oops. Sound a little weird. This JavaScript, this keyword thing, it's a little weird, but we're gonna get over it. We're gonna get into that one too. And what you can see is that the same thing happens. The JavaScript. So you can either do it inline and write it right here, or you can create a function down here and then just tie the function up right there. So that's real cool. And then event attributes. So to assign events to HTML elements, you can use the event attributes. Remember, attributes, properties, they don't have parentheses. So we have the onClick, and we set it equal to display name. And so this says, in the example above, a function named display date will be executed when the button is clicked. That's basically what's happening. On click of this button, execute this function, execute this set of procedures, run this set of procedures, execute this set of procedures. Okay. Assign events using the HTML DOM. So the HTML DOM allows you to assign events to HTML elements using JavaScript. Well, you just saw how we was doing it in HTML, right? We was in HTML and we was saying button click equals the date, right? Well, how do we do that shit in JavaScript? Well, the same way. Well, not the same way, but very similar. What we do is we get the element, right? So here, they already have the element because they're in HTML. So now that they have the element, they can just write the onClick right there. Well, now that we have the element, we can call the onClick property and set it equal to display date. It's that simple in JavaScript. And now we just hooked up the onClick event to the handler, which is the display date. Display date is going to handle the onClick event. So we will call display date like a click handler. Okay. The onload and OnUnload events. So the onload and the OnUnload events are triggered when the user enters or leaves the web page. That's really important. So the onload event can be used to check the visitor's browser type and browser version, and the load property version or property version of the web page based on the information. The onload and OnUnload events can be used to deal with cookies. So basically, use onload OnUnload to basically, if you want to check something, grab some data before the web page loads, use the onload to say like you hook it up to the body. So body onload, and they're right here, they're checking cookies, but let's say load data from server, right? And so this will load the data from the server as the body loads, and then you can use that data inside your HTML. That'd be dope. That's cool. That's actually what kind of like React and stuff does with the if statements and the mountain of the events, or not the events, the life cycles. Okay, so then you got onChange event. OnChange event is usually tied up with in combination with validation of input fields. So basically with input fields, you can start typing things. Let's see. Let me show you. So with the input field right here, you can start typing stuff like that. And when you start typing things, a function can run that's not running. It doesn't look like. Oh, there we go. When you leave the input field, okay, cool. So we have a function on change. We have a function on change right here. Oh, wait, let me move myself. So you see that we have this input field. Oops, you see that we have this input field right there. Or I just wrote the word where. And I'm about to actually write a different word that's like Nate, right? And so you see this is lowercase Nate, but when I leave out of there, it turns into uppercase Nate. Why does it turn into uppercase Nate? Let's take a look. Well, the reason that it turns into uppercase Nate was first, we have the script tag right here, and the script is creating a function called myFunc, right? And myFunc is getting the element by ID f name. And what has the element by ID f name? Let's go check it out. In the body, what has element ID f name? Well, what has element ID f name is this input field right here. This input has the ID f name. Cool. So now that the input has the ID f name, and we know that it's grabbing, this one is grabbing the f name, we're just saying x.value equals x.value.uppercase. So we're saying we're grabbing the input field and we're saying its value is going to be set to upper. And so if we kind of come over here, we see that it actually grabbed my value and then set it upper. That was cool. Or set it to the uppercase value of my name. Cool. All right, that's events. And then the on mouse over, on mouse out events. So you got mouse over me. Oops. Mouse over me, and then that's it. So, and then when I leave, it turns back away. So mouse over is like on hover. On hover, turn to thank you. When I'm not hovering you, go back to mouse over me. The on mouse down and on mouse up and click events. So it's basically clicking. So if I click down but don't release my hand, then this is the on mouse down. If I release up, this is the on mouse up. And then if I don't pause in between, that's the click event. So really cool events. And then you could go check out even more events right here, some examples of those events. And then if you really want to see the HTML DOM event object reference, let's load this real quick. Let me just show you how many events there are. So here you got for a tutorial about events, read about events are normal, yada yada, well display. Okay, so here are all the events. You got the abort, and I'm not even about to read them all out. Actually, let me show y'all some, because as I scroll, you can kind of see the scroll bar. Oh no, you can't see the scroll bar. I think I put it too far. Oh, there we go. Yep, you can see the scroll bar as I scroll. You can see how like it's real small on the page. Like there's a bunch of events. Like you can watch for almost anything in JavaScript. Like almost anything. These are events out of the world. And so, man, like I said, with JavaScript we have full on control over the whole bitch, for real. Like the whole HTML, we can really control the JavaScript. We can listen to events. Once a certain event goes off, we can, let's say, move its X properties around the screen and all that other stuff, which will start an animation, right? So this honestly, this stuff is real cool. Like this JavaScript DOM stuff is very, very cool. So, but that's about it on this video. Pretty much explain how to listen to different events that are going on inside the DOM and how to handle those events, how to create some JavaScript function, write the code in the function, and then just set that equal to the on-click event, set that equal to the on-what event, set that equal to a bunch of events. Go check out all the events, by the way. Like figure out like what you want to be able to listen to and some cool stuff that you can do on your web page that most people not even realizing that they can do, because they're not going to go look at those references of all the real cool things that we can really listen to. Imagine as you scroll, you get past a certain point. You could listen to when you get past like a certain scroll point, and then something just pops out or something just fades away. Just like real dope animations out of nowhere that don't really take much, but just knowing that JavaScript allows us to listen to events and then change properties. That's it. All right. I'm gonna see y'all in the next video. Deuces.